The difference between personal and corporate worship, well, it's obvious from the Bible that the two are there. I mean, you see people in the Bible like Moses and Abraham worshiping God alone, but then you see situations where people together were worshiping the Lord.
Personal worship is responding to God's love in a way that delights God and really has to do with our lifestyle. Corporate worship is really about unity. It's bringing us together, responding to God's love together in a way that delights God.
I think other than the fact that you have a situation of one versus many, I think other than that, there's not a great deal of difference between the two. Fundamentally, worship doesn't change whether I'm doing it alone or whether I'm doing it with a group. To be sure, when we're all together worshiping the Lord, it creates a really cool kind of dynamic of a group effect. All of us together singing praises to God, all of us together focusing on the person of Christ, and that's a great thing. But I would say this, if we don't know how to worship privately, personally, it won't be any better just because we're all together as a group. And I think what God is looking for are those who themselves personally know how to worship Him. And then as we come together, it makes it for an even greater experience as a group.
I really believe the goal to corporate worship is allowing the group of people coming together to give themselves completely to the Lord and to remove every distraction. In our church, for instance, I often lead worship, and we will pray this way: Lord, remove every distraction from us at this moment and allow us to give this time to You.
It's to draw our focus and our attention off ourselves, off each other, and really draw our attention up to God. Music isn't worship. Music is a mode of worship. And so we use music to draw us together because music can be an emotional experience. It can be a joyful experience. So it collects our attention, it gathers it, and it focuses it right where it should be, and that's on God.
Frankly, it's also what private worship is about as well. As we admire the person of God, we contemplate Him, we bring things to Him. It's not what we can get out of it, it's what we bring to the Lord. We come to Him in a spirit of submission. You can't worship if you're in rebellion against God. That's not worshiping in spirit and in truth.
Ephesians 5 and Colossians 3 speak of psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. And they both tell us that we're to worship with all three. Psalms would be songs about God's character, His unchanging character. Hymns would be songs about truth and doctrine and reminding us of God's glory and splendor. And songs, spiritual songs, are really love songs to God.
A lot of debate about hymns and modern choruses and songs and the importance of each versus the other. And I really don't think it's a case of one being more or less important than the other. I think it isn't either or. I think it's both and.
I think we've made it controversial, divisive, because of the simple fact that we've allowed preference to take over principle.
Because there's people all across the spectrum, and there's all kinds of thoughts about how we should do it and when we should do it and what's the right kind of musical style, etc., etc. Big point of debate.
And we're forgetting that we need to get back to what is the purpose of worship. It's to glorify God. It's to come together and worship Him through singing, media, the things that we've been talking about.
And when we go to church, a lot of times we're looking for an experience. And the truth is, going to church isn't about getting, it's about giving. And so as soon as we get our eyes on ourselves, as soon as we come to church saying, what am I going to get out of today? That is a selfish mindset, and that's what causes us to respond emotionally in frustration when we don't get what we want.